The streets were quiet that evening, the city's usual hum replaced by an eerie stillness. David, a single dad and hard-working mechanic, was walking home with his son's backpack in one hand, thinking about dinner. Suddenly, a sharp, panicked scream shattered the calm. Instantly alert, David's eyes darted toward the sound. Near a dimly lit alley, a young woman struggled against two men who blocked her escape. Fear twisted her face, and her cries pierced the night. David's heart pounded. He instinctively ran forward, ignoring the nagging thought that he might be outnumbered. Adrenaline surged through his veins, sharpening his focus. One man lunged toward the woman, but David swung a sturdy metal pipe he had grabbed from a nearby construction site. The pipe connected with a sickening thud against the attacker's shoulder, sending him sprawling to the ground. The second man, enraged, charged at David, fists raised. David ducked just in time, sidestepped, and delivered a precise strike to the attacker's midsection. The man stumbled backward, gasping. The woman scrambled away, clutching her purse, her eyes wide with a mix of terror and relief. Thank you so much," she whispered, her voice trembling. David gave a small, reassuring smile, brushing off his jacket. His heart was still racing, but he felt a strange sense of calm in knowing he had done the right thing. Unbeknownst to him, across the street, a shadowed figure had been watching, taking in every move. By the time David reached his small apartment, the adrenaline had started to fade, leaving a hollow ache in his chest and shaking hands. His son, Jake, was sitting at the kitchen table, coloring in a notebook, oblivious to the danger his father had just faced. "Dad, you're late again," Jake said, looking up with innocent curiosity. David forced a casual smile, setting down the backpack. "Just helping someone, buddy. Nothing to worry about," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Inside, however, he couldn't shake the images of the fight, the way the attackers had moved, the desperation in the woman's eyes, and the raw surge of fear that had driven him to act. Sitting at the worn wooden table, David replayed the scene repeatedly in his mind. He thought about how quickly everything could have gone wrong, how small mistakes could have cost someone their safety, or even their life. He poured himself a glass of water and tried to calm his racing heart, but it was no use, the sense of responsibility weighed heavily on him. Outside, unnoticed, a figure leaned against a lamppost across the street, eyes fixed on David's apartment. The person had seen everything, the courage, the instinct, the bravery, and knew that David was someone remarkable. For David, it had been just instinct. But for this observer, it was an act that could not be ignored. Little did David know, the events of that night would soon reach far beyond his quiet life. The following morning, David was in the kitchen, mechanically making breakfast for Jake, still replaying the previous night's events in his head. The city was coming alive outside, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something unusual was about to happen. A sleek black car rolled to a stop outside his building, its polished surface gleaming in the morning sun. The engine shut off, but the vehicle seemed to command attention. David frowned, curious and cautious. The car door opened, and a sharply dressed man stepped out, radiating authority and confidence. His eyes scanned the street before landing on David. "David Thompson?" the man asked, his voice calm but commanding. David froze, a mix of surprise and suspicion washing over him. "Yes, that's me. Can I help you?" "I saw what happened last night," the man said. He reached into his pocket and handed David a crisp business card. "I'm Michael Grant, CEO of Apex Security. You handled yourself remarkably well. Not many people would have the courage, or the skill, to act like that." David blinked, unsure how to respond. Thank you, I guess. I did what anyone would do." Michael smiled knowingly. "Maybe, but you did it instinctively, decisively, and effectively. We could use someone like you on our team. There are opportunities where your courage and quick thinking could save lives, and be recognized safely." David's heart raced. Not from fear this time, but from disbelief. A stranger had witnessed his act of bravery, and now the CEO of a major security firm was offering him a chance to turn instinct into purpose. He glanced at the card, feeling the weight of possibility in his hands. David stood on the small balcony of his apartment, the morning sun casting golden light over the city streets. The sleek black car had disappeared, leaving only the faint hum of traffic. In his hand, he held Michael Grant's business card, feeling its weight as if it carried a promise of a different life. Jake bounded up behind him, tugging at his father's sleeve. "Dad, who was that man? He looked really important." David smiled, ruffling his son's hair. "Just someone who saw that helping people can matter more than we think." Inside, his mind raced with questions and possibilities. Could he really step into a world where his courage would not only be recognized but also valued? A life where protecting others could become his purpose. By noon, David found himself at the doors of Apex Security, his nervous anticipation bubbling into determination. Michael greeted him with a firm handshake, his presence both reassuring and commanding. "Welcome, David. Today, you start turning instinct into action. There's a bigger world out there, one that needs people like you." As he walked through the sleek, bustling offices, David felt a surge of pride and hope. He thought of the woman he had helped, of the fear that had transformed into resolve, and of his son waiting for him at home. One courageous act had rippled far beyond that quiet street, opening a door to new beginnings. For David, the fight had been over, but the journey was just beginning. Courage had led him here, and now, it was time to embrace it fully.